I think you're the chef. You should be teaching us how to do it. You should be right here. Yeah.
Right. I think we're going to go ahead and get started. So thank you everybody for coming. My name is Leah.
And I'm Megan.
So we are doing Biblio Bites today. So welcome everybody on Facebook, and thank you all for joining us in person. So today we are making Rainbow Tortillas.
Ooh. Well, good, I'm glad. I hope they taste as yummy as they look. But we have lots of fun colors. We're going to make some that are kind of pink, blue, green, and like a bright yellow.
I like to eat the tortillas.
What do you like to do with tortillas?
I normally like to microwave them, then I put butter on it, and then I shake some butter, not some butter,
Cinnamon?
some salt.
Oh, salt.
And then roll it up, and
Roll
then
it.
I eat it, and it's yummy.
Wow, that sounds really yummy. Well,
For these ones, we are using this cookbook called Sweet.
Laurel Savory.
So that's the one we're using today.
And the interesting thing about this cookbook is that it's whole food, grain-free meals. So they have ones that are like gluten-free mostly, but also vegan and nut-free. So if you have anyone with food allergies, this is a really good cookbook to check out. Okay. So we're going to start by just kind of telling you how to do it. And we have some samples. And like I said, there's 4 different colors, but we didn't want to make 4 different batches right now. So we made 2 colors for you to sample. And then we're going to show you how to make the other 2 colors. So like I said, it's gluten-free. So we have some kind of interesting ingredients here. Do you want to talk about them, Leah?
Yeah, so for our flour, so we don't have a normal flour, like a whole wheat flour or anything like that. This is going to be a gluten-free called a cassava flour. And so that's what we're going to use for the flour base.
And we did find it at Fry's. So it's not like we went somewhere crazy to get it, which is good to know.
The other thing we're using is Arrowroot Powder, which kind of works like a starch or a flour. And so that is another thing that we're going to be using in our mix today.
And I think it might kind of emulate baking powder. Is that what we thought?
Maybe, yeah, I think kind of, sort of, and then like definitely like a cornstarch or something.
Oh, a cornstarch. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So those are some of the main ingredients that we're using today. But honestly, this is pretty easy for the base of the tortilla itself. We only have 4 ingredients, 5 including the water.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And so, like we said, it's dairy-free and vegan and everything. So they told us to make an egg substitute, and it's called a flax egg. So we have flaxseed meal, and we just got this at Bash's. And you mix that with a little bit of hot water, and then let it sit in the fridge. And so we did that right before, and I'll show you what it looks like. So
Then it turns into this interesting consistency.
Yeah, and it's similar to an egg. So it's kind of supposed to emulate that, but it's also supposed to make the consistency similar to like using a masa for when you make tortillas. So yeah, they're very creative. So anyway, so we're gonna kind of mix this up a little bit, and then can I use your spoon? And then we will put that in a second.
So first of all, to get started, we are going to do just all of our dry ingredients first. So we'll start with the arrowroot powder, and we're going to do 1/4 of a cup plus 2 tablespoons of that. So.
And like I said, we're both going to make it at the same time so we can see 2 different colors. So,
And then the 2 tablespoons as well.
And then after that, we're gonna add the flour. So that's actually the same measurements. It's 1/4 cup plus 2 tablespoons.
And then we'll just mix it all together once we get that in there.
Has anyone ever made tortillas before? Not with this. I know, this is kind of unique.
That water.
Yeah, you make lots of stuff with tortillas, huh?
Have you guys made like a regular tortilla, like just a normal? Yeah. Is anybody else? You guys have? Cool.
And it's probably, hopefully it's not too different than this. It's just we're using different ingredients, but let us know.
And I would be careful not to like use this recipe and then transfer it straight over to like your regular flour and thing. A lot of times it just doesn't turn out the same, so I wouldn't try and do like an emulate it with the regular ingredients.
Yeah, because they kind of react differently.
Yeah.
So.
So we're also going to use this pink Himalayan salt, and we're going to do 1/4 of a teaspoon into that mixture as well.
I assume you could probably use regular salt if you wanted to, because Himalayan salt isn't very different, but that's what they specifically recommend in the book, so we're doing it.
Fun and pink.
Yeah. We tried to kind of change the recipe a little bit when we were practicing. Like we thought, oh, we'll just use a regular egg because we're not dairy free, we're not vegan, but it reacted weird. So we had to make the flax egg. So we're just following everything by the book for this, so that.
So for this one, you just mix that all up, and then the interesting about this is depending on which color you want to make your tortillas, you're going to use different ingredients. So for the samples that we got for you guys, we used a green matcha. So this is just a matcha powder, so we mix that right into the dry ingredients right now. Today we're going to use turmeric for our yellow one, so we're going to mix that in right now. Do you want to do that?
Sure.
Okay.
So it's just 1 teaspoon of ground turmeric for the kind of yellow color. So I'll do that. 1/2 tablespoon. 1 teaspoon. And it's the same thing for the matcha is just a tablespoon. So it has different ingredients depending on the strength of the color, and turmeric is pretty strong. So we're just doing 1 teaspoon of that one. And then, like we said, I'm just gonna mix it in with my dry ingredients. Okay, and then we're gonna move on to the wet ingredients.
So whenever we mix that in, for the red ones that we had for your samples, we actually used a beet juice. So we just found this can of beet juice and we just mixed that right in. And again, it's just like a tablespoon. And honestly, I know like I'm not a big fan of beets, but we really couldn't taste a huge flavor in it. It was mostly just for the color. So you do about a tablespoon or a teaspoon in the case of the turmeric, and it just kind of puts enough in there to put the color and a little bit of flavor, but not like an overpowering amount. So for this one, I'm gonna do this. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, do the other wet ingredients first, I think. Yeah. Well, first we're supposed to add all of our wet ingredients and then add the other color with that. So we're adding our flax egg. So I'll put that in here.
And then we're also going to use avocado oil, which again, you could probably easily use like an olive oil or something like that, but we just decided to stick with the actual what it calls for. So we're going to do
3 tablespoons of avocado oil. And we found that at Fry's too. Everything we found at Fry's, except the arrowroot, which we found at Bash's, and then also at Sprouts. They had it there. And the butterfly tea, which I'll talk about in a second, we actually had to buy that online. Yeah. Because we couldn't find it anywhere. So, yeah. Okay, so once we got our oil and our egg, we also need a little bit of water. So it's just 1/3 cup of water. So we'll add that in. Let me get yours.
If you're doing one of the liquids, do you need to cut back on water?
That's a good question.
It is a great question. The book does not tell us to do that, but we found that it did affect the consistency. So that might be something that needs to be kind of played with if it's something you're going to make regularly. We just kind of went ahead and went for it and didn't adjust anything. but it definitely, we could tell a difference. So it's probably something that if I were to make it in the future, I would mess with it. But that's a great question.
Yeah. And we're only using like a tablespoon of the tea and the beet juice, so it's not a lot, but it did kind of change the consistency, so that's a good question. So we, for blue, it suggested we get butterfly pea flower tea. And I like just started hearing about this recently. I saw like blue lattes online and I was like, wow, that's so cute. And this is what they use to make it. And we looked at a lot of stores and we couldn't find it. And so yeah, I got it on Amazon and it's actually just little flowers. They look like this, and it's called dried butterfly pea flower. And you just steep it the same way you would steep like a loose leaf tea. And so that's what we did in the teapot. And you just put a tablespoon of that in, Leah?
A tablespoon for that one.
So kind of fun. It smells not as great as I want it to. So
Did you guys smell it at all or no? It was really strong earlier. Okay, yeah.
And like we said, this is kind of just for color, so we're not worried about it, but they make like lattes out of it. So I want to try the latte and see how much like sugar and milk they put in it to make it taste really good, because the smell doesn't really appeal to me, but
I think I might need to add some more because I don't think mine looks very blue.
oh no,
So
add
I
more
think I'm
blue.
gonna add a touch more.
Mine looks very yellow. So, but like I said, the turmeric's really a strong, like pigmented color. So we just needed a teaspoon for that one.
I'm gonna add a splash more of mine.
And when we made the pinky ones with the beet juice, it was also very bright pink.
yeah.
So those ones are just extra strong colors, I guess.
I felt like the matcha was pretty green as well.
Oh,
Yeah, I thought the matcha
was pretty green.
I mean, you'll see the samples if you guys get a green one there.
and you can see like the flaxseed also kind of makes there be the like texture in there as well, which is kind of fun. And flaxseed is very good for you. So,
yeah, I've seen
chips
those
with
before.
flaxseed. Yeah, I've seen those too. And it said in the book, like we said, it's a gluten-free, vegan, nut-free recipes. And so they have a lot of alternative recipes in here, like to make a flaxseed egg. And they had another one that you could use something else. What was it? Instead of the flax, it was like...
It's page 27. I don't remember. It was interesting ingredients because I probably... Oh, yeah, one of them was. There was 3 different ones, but yeah.
chia
you're
seed.
right.
Yeah, it was chia
the
seed.
other.
So...
The other one was something I'd never heard of, but yeah, chia seed would be interesting.
And I've heard of people using applesauce before as like an egg substitute. So you could use something like that. I'm not really sure about all the allergies with that kind of thing, but if you needed to, you could try it, I guess.
Definitely.
The thing about the pea flower and the turmeric, they're both natural pH indicators. So if you
Oh.
put a squirt of lemon juice, your orange will turn, or your yellow will turn orange.
Oh,
Blue will turn purple.
oh, that's really cool. Huh.
I still don't feel like mine is super blue, but I guess there's a little tint of it, but it's kind of interesting.
I know, I want it to be really
That's
blue.
what I was, the pictures were very blue, so
Yeah.
that's kind of interesting. But you can see that the consistency is not like a regular dough, which I found kind of interesting. So what we did is we kind of just spooned it on into onto our griddle, and mine is a non-stick griddle here, so it does suggest that, I think.
Yeah, in the cookbook it says you can do it on the stove as long as you have like a non-stick pan, or you could do it on a griddle or this is actually a crepe maker.
Yeah.
But anything like a non-stick surface, you can make these. So it also says if you have like a tortilla press, you can use one of those. But since the consistency of ours is not super thick, we're kind of doing it with our hands and also just kind of pouring them on there. So we'll show you what that looks like.
So I just took kind of we were going to do bigger ones, huh?
Yeah, we made little tiny ones as samples to give you guys, but it says this recipe makes 4 5-inch tortillas. So you can make them whatever size works for you. And there's also a recipe I noticed in here, we'll see if I can find it, that was for like Carnitas Tacos, and they used the tortillas. And so it makes any meal like that you would normally use a tortilla a little more fun. So I'll try to find the picture.
So this is typically for crepes, this little device I've got here, but I found that it worked really well with the consistency of my tortilla here to help spread that out to get it nice and thin. And then it will cook more evenly.
Again, this is the picture of the tortillas if you didn't see it, but I'm trying to find the Carnitas page. What kind of stuff do you guys like to eat with tortillas? Because we can probably make it with this. We can make tacos, we could make quesadillas, burritos. Quesadillas, yeah.
Rainbow Tortillas.
See, that would be fun. Okay, so here's the picture. I gotta see what these are. Yeah, they're maple glazed Carnitas tacos. So another fun recipe. But yeah, they use those colored tortillas and it makes it even brighter. It's already a really bright plate, but looks really cute. So, gives us some inspiration.
So it said to just leave this on for a minute or so to let it cook fully on the one side.
And you want them to be thin, because tortillas are really thin, you know? So with that, they only need to cook for about a minute per side, it said. And tortillas kind of bubble up a little bit and get like the dark bubbles on them, and that's totally normal. So if that happens, no worries here. And you want the griddle to be hot, so.
Yeah, so you saw I turned mine, I plugged mine in a little while ago just to make sure it was nice and warm and ready. So that's definitely something you want to make sure it's nice and hot before you put it on there. Mm-hmm. So then you can just flip this over here.
Yay.
And you might even do it a little bit longer than I did on that one, on that side.
And when we made our small ones, we could fit a couple on there at a time, so that was kind of fun. But we want to show you a bigger one, so it looks more like a tortilla. But one of my favorite things was kind of similar to what you do, is I would put butter on a tortilla when I was a kid and cinnamon sugar and roll it up, and that was a really good treat. So,
That too.
and you can kind of vaguely taste the flavors, I think. Like we said, it's not very prominent, but the beets, I could taste it a tiny bit.
Yeah.
And like the matcha, you can taste it a little bit. So keep that in mind. If you're looking for like a really specific recipe or like flavor, that maybe you don't want to use this. But if you're looking for something to like be really aesthetically pleasing or to like go with those flavors, like turmeric,
Yeah.
you want to make, you know, some taco with that
Complement
flavor.
that really well.
Yeah, so it's just something to think about. I can.
Maybe some kind of curry or something like that.
Yeah, uh-huh.
You're right. Yes, that would be. I feel like any kind of taco would probably be really good with that one.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like a sweeter one might be interesting with the blue there as a butterfly flower. Chicken would be good, you're right.
Yeah. And we thought about other alternatives, like I said maybe we could use like chili powder or something to make more of a reddish one, but we were worried it might be really spicy. Yeah, if you had to put like a tablespoon of it, it might be really spicy. So, oh yeah. Another thing it said is to keep them warm afterwards, that you can just set them in a towel. Do you want me to stick it over here?
And then we can just put them in between there and then they'll stay warm that way.
We can scoot this stuff over a little.
And you can just put it right there and I'll flip that over just to kind of keep that warm.
And then we'll do our yellow one next. And it's very bright, which is fun. And I'm curious if, with people that make other tortillas, if they could just use the coloring for them and just add that in during the process, and if it would be similar. And I think it probably would.
I think
So.
it would. I think if you do make like just like even your regular tortilla, I think you could easily put that in. Just remember what, like your dry ingredients go in with your, before you put in the wet ingredients and vice versa.
And this one turned out a little thicker, like we said, because it's more of a powder. And so if you wanted to kind of roll a ball and flatten it out, you could try doing that, but it is really sticky. So the consistencies are very like touch and go. Every single one we did was different.
Yeah.
So it takes practice, I feel like, to perfect this recipe because they're all just kind of variable. So. And the thicker you make it, the longer you need to cook it. Because we tried making some, and they ended up more like pancakes.
Really good, yeah.
And we had to cook them for a long time, and they were not tortillas. They were pancakes. So a lot of trial and error with this recipe, but I think cooking with specific dietary needs, you have to kind of do trial and error. Because I don't have very much experience with that, so I learned a lot.
Yeah, me too, definitely. Because I don't really have any dietary restrictions, so I don't really think about that, or I don't normally cook with this kind of stuff. So it was kind of fun for me to learn more about those different things, like the cassava flour and the arrowroot, just because I was so unfamiliar with it. So it was kind of fun to learn a little bit more about that stuff, which is cool.
And we were thinking, like, we'll just use regular flour. Like, we don't need to use this stuff. And then we went to Fry's and we saw it, and we were like, we should try it.
Yeah, we're like,
so
let's do it. Which turned out probably a good thing, because it probably would not have worked out quite the same at all if we had.
we had to run to the store and get our flax seed because of the egg. So
It was fun, though.
yeah. And that you can still create yummy food if you have dietary restrictions is always reassuring, because sometimes it can feel like you can't eat anything, you know, so.
This is kind of cool with most of them, but especially with these colors, you could definitely see when it was warm enough, so that it makes it a little bit easier to tell when it's time to flip it, because you can see the color kind of changes from the wet to kind of more cooked. So I'll probably give it just another minute there, and then I'll flip it over.
Yeah, a little bit. And if you have a tortilla press, it'll look a lot rounder and like more uniform. So if you want to use that, you know, you can make it look a little bit more like a traditional tortilla, but we didn't have one. So this was our easy way. But
I can smell the turmeric on this one.
yeah.
Yeah, it's strong.
I'm not a super big turmeric person. I like have had the golden lattes before where they put turmeric in them, and they're not really my thing. So, but I think maybe in this situation with just a little bit, I'll probably be okay. So
It's definitely an interesting thing, but I think it's fun to just find that different foods can just dye your food to make it fun colors and stuff like that.
and that it's all natural. We're not using like food coloring or anything like that. It's kind of fun. So now we're gonna use this for everything. We're gonna say, I want to have yellow pancakes, and we'll just put
Some turmeric in there.
I want to have blue sourdough. No.
That would be fun.
Yeah. So it's worth a try.
If you don't have a tortilla press, you can use 2 plates.
Use what? I'm sorry?
2 plates.
2 plates? Oh, that's a good idea.
Another one of the cookbook actually suggested that you take 2 pieces of parchment paper and put it between that, and then you can roll it out that way. So that's another idea too. But the plates is a good idea.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, you can also dye Easter eggs with a lot of these things.
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah.
The blue would probably dye better for that.
And it looks so blue in the teapot. So we took the flowers out because we wanted to make sure it wasn't like too dark. And I think we honestly could have left them in because it just doesn't, it's not as pigmented as some of the other colors. But I know, you guys gotta smell it before you leave because I just don't, I'm not sure. I gotta try the latte because I don't believe this. Maybe people order it because it's blue. Like, it's not because it tastes good, it's just because it's blue.
I would probably do that.
I mean, I can't deny that I wouldn't either. If you guys want to smell it, you can come up, or at the end you can smell it. Not yet.
Does the tea smell like the flowers?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Except that's really strong because it's like the actual flowers.
Smells. Going out in the field.
Yeah. And like matcha is kind of like that. It smells kind of like grass.
Kinda earthy.
So yeah, and beets, all of these are pretty earthy, honestly. Beets are very earthy.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so that is our demonstration.
yeah.
Does anybody have any questions about it or any thoughts or comments?
Good, I'm glad you think so.
Yeah, so we do have our samples here. We have a couple of the matcha ones in the front. We didn't have as many, so we have mostly the beet ones towards the back. But you guys can come up and pick a flavor. Do you want the pink ones or the green ones?
Just pick one to start. You can come back
There's a
together.
pink one. You want that one? So the pink ones are back here, and then the green ones are in the front. Do you want a pink one? Pink or green? Say thank you. Green. Okay, this is a green one. You're welcome.
And like we said, these are just little pieces, but
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, so the green ones are in the front there.
would you guys like to try one? You can share them. You guys can split it if you want.
And the pink ones are back there. So the pink ones are
I was like, is the color coordinated?
No, they're not. I should have.
the beet ones.
Yeah.
I think it's just the pink
Just the
ones.
pink ones?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much for joining us.
Should we say goodbye to the people online?
Yes. Thank you everybody on Facebook for tuning in, and thanks for being here.
Yeah. It tastes like a tortilla?
Does it taste like a tortilla?
Okay, good. I'm glad you think so, yeah.
The last time.
Yeah? Okay, good.
Do you feel like